Did you know there's a shadowy corner of history where the lines between science and the supernatural blur? Picture this, the 1930s, a time of intense fascination with the occult and the unexplained. Enter the enigmatic world of remote viewing and Rh-negative blood. Rumors swirl that in Germany, amidst the turmoil of a nation on the brink, secretive experiments were conducted. The subjects, individuals with the rare Rh-negative blood type, believed to possess extraordinary psychic abilities. Imagine being chosen, not for your strength or intelligence, but for the unique properties of your blood, diving into the depths of remote viewing, a technique said to allow the mind to see distant locations and events. But why Rh negatives? What was it about their blood that made them the prime candidates for these experiments? Some say it was their heightened psychic sensitivity, a natural predisposition to transcend the physical realm. As the world watched Germany for political reasons, beneath the surface, a different kind of power struggle was unfolding, one that sought to unlock the human mind's full potential. Dive into the mystery, the intrigue, and the shadowy experiments that sought to bridge the gap between science and the psychic. What secrets did they uncover? The answers might just lie in the untold history of remote viewing and Rh-negative blood.
Did you know that the Germans tried to open a gate to hell to win World War II? In 1943, a group of scientists and military officers was sent to the Caucasus not to conquer territory, but to dig. They believed that beneath those mountains lay an ancient structure, sealed by Sumerian priests who gave their lives to imprison something that must never awaken. For weeks they worked in silence until they found it, a kind of underground altar covered in symbols no linguist could decipher. When they broke the central seal, everything changed. A storm appeared from nowhere. 3 soldiers fell to their knees, speaking dead languages, their eyes completely black. The chaos lasted exactly 47 minutes. And then, total silence. Only one radio technician managed to escape. Decades later, his equipment was found. It was still working. The recording played screams no one could classify, and a phrase in German repeated like a warning: "We have unleashed the hunger of the underworld." The site was sealed in concrete. It appears on no map, but on certain nights, a faint signal still leaks through the frequencies, and someone responds.
Germany excavated Babylon's Ishtar Gate, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. They didn't just take artifacts, they dismantled it, brick by brick, shipped it to Berlin, and rebuilt it inside a museum. The gate was built around 575 BC under King Nebuchadnezzar II. Massive blue glazed bricks, intricate reliefs of dragons and bulls, a monument to ancient Mesopotamian power. German archaeologists excavated it in the early 1900s during Ottoman rule. They got permission. But permission from an occupying empire doesn't make it right. Iraq wants it back. They've formally requested its return. Germany refuses. The Ishtar Gate sits in Berlin's Pergamon Museum, a centerpiece. Millions visit it every year. But it's not German history. It's stolen heritage. This is colonial theft, hidden in plain sight. They took an entire ancient wonder and call it preservation. Comment if it should go back to Iraq. Tag someone who needs to know. Follow for what museums won't return.
Maria Orsic was the founder of the Real Society in 1919 in Germany. She and a group of like-minded people who also shared an interest in esotericism and the occult. She was a medium and a mystic who claimed to have interactions with extraterrestrial beings. The fate of Maria Orsic is actually still not clear. Some people believe that she died at the end of World War II in 1945, and others believe that she in fact died before then. Some theories do suggest that Orsic, along with other members of the Real Society, had involvement in black budget operations, secret government projects, as well as connections to the Nazi regime.
There is no real Atlantis, and this guy is why Atlantis and all the pseudo-archaeological bullshit that comes along with it is in the public consciousness today. His name is Ignatius Donnelly, and he was a U.S. congressman. If you are unaware, there is no historic or archaeological basis for Atlantis. It was an allegory written by Plato to talk about how cool Athens was, and that was it. Donnelly, however, did not get the memo. He thought that the Atlanteans were the first members of the Aryan race, and they spread their culture to people like the Mayans and the Egyptians. And it was wiped out by the same flood that's described in the Bible, the biblical flood. So, he's doing a lot of pseudo-archaeology bullshit. And because of his baseless claims, archaeologists like me have to keep telling people.
After they disbanded, they were determined to keep their knowledge and traditions alive, so they created alias groups to avoid detection. In Scotland, they became Freemasons. Portugal, they were known as the Knights of Christ. In Germany, they created Rosicrucianism. There's also evidence of them in the early Americas. Nova Scotia has the legendary Oak Island, with buried Templar treasure and deadly curses. An indigenous tribe in Panama, known as the White Indians of Darien, have pale skin and Caucasian features. Some believe they're descendants of the first Templars in the Americas. When asked about the Knights Templar, the natives called them our brothers. In early Europe, Templars were the first Vikings. The first pirates were Knights Templar. The famous skull and crossbones symbol, the Jolly Roger, that flag was first flown by the Templar Navy to frighten their enemies before battle. One of the most famous Templar symbols is the red cross with a white background. Another is the depiction of several knights on a horse, like this statue in London. Both of these are found in cathedrals and chapels all across Europe. If you read or saw the Da Vinci Code, you may remember Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland. Pagan and Templar symbols are on every inch of it. Some, like this carving of a knight on horseback, are obvious. This is the gravestone for William Sinclair. It's in the lower part of Rosslyn Chapel. It specifically says Knight Templar. William Sinclair had no love for the church and provided help to any Knights Templar who asked for it. But it's not just crosses and horses that the Knights engraved on their architecture. There are more subtle clues relating to some of their Gnostic and sometimes pagan beliefs. Sculptures of angels in strange positions are common in Rosslyn Chapel and are an important rite in Freemasonry. But Freemasonry wasn't supposed to have started until 1717. Rosslyn Chapel was built in 1446. Over 100 of these little green men are scattered around Rosslyn Chapel. They're pagan symbols and thought to originate from ancient Celtics. Paganism simply refers to anything that isn't Christian, Muslim, or Jewish. Why would there be hundreds of non-Christian symbols in a Catholic church? Templar legend says they were placed there as a message. Some of the more interesting carvings are of plants that Europeans never should have known about. This is a picture of corn over one of the windows in Rosslyn Chapel, and here's one of trillium. But corn and trillium are native to North America. Rosslyn Chapel was built almost 50 years before Columbus sailed to the New World. How would Templars know what these plants look like? Well, isn't it obvious? They were there first. Templar legend says Sir Henry Sinclair, grandfather of the builder of Rosslyn Chapel, was not only a Templar, but was among the first Europeans to visit the New World. Not only that, but Christopher Columbus himself was associated with the Knights. He was a distant relative of the Sinclairs. Columbus's daughter was married to the Grand Master of the Order. He had access, as all Grand Masters do, to ancient knowledge of the Knights Templar, including their maps. Columbus knew there was something on the other side of the Atlantic. He didn't know what, but he knew there was land and treasure. He knew this because the Knights Templar had maps of the New World for centuries. One of these was the Piri-Reis map, and you know this famous map. It shows the New World and Antarctica hundreds of years before they were rediscovered. Piri-Reis, by the way, was a cartographer from Istanbul, which in his time was Constantinople, birthplace of the Knights Templar. Was Piri-Reis a Templar? Maybe. Coincidence? Maybe. But when Columbus wanted to sail to the New World, he first approached King John of Portugal for financing. King John refused, so Columbus went to Portugal's enemies, Spain and England. Queen Isabella of Spain came up with the money first, and the rest is history. But Templar history tells a different story. They say Portugal refused to finance Columbus because they already knew about the New World. Knights Templar had been sailing there for years. Portugal was populated by so many knights that it was considered a Templar nation. In fact, the word Portugal means port of the Gauls, but Templars say it really means port of the Grail. Knights Templar history says they were trading with Native American tribes for years. That's where they got a lot of their gold. And the Templars had a very good relationship with the people of the New World. Columbus knew this. How do we know? Well, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria all flew flags with the Templar cross. He knew the natives would recognize this symbol and be peaceful. And they were at first. Sadly, the Europeans didn't return the favor. The Knights Templars say they were the first Europeans to visit the Americas. Fine. But can they prove it? They can.
CIA, which was called the OSS in the Second World War. CIA originally, the OSS was originally founded by men who were members of an order called the Knights of Malta. It is a Roman secret society of powerful Freemasons who have operated in Europe for many, many hundreds of years. The Knights of Malta, along with the kindred orders like the Knights Templars, who were the international bankers in Switzerland. This is why Switzerland's never in any war, because this is where the Templars call home. This is the international banking. You don't mess where the boss lives. So I think that there's something going on here very big.
Do you have any idea what that is?
Yes, I certainly do. I haven't spent 40 years with the subject not to know.
You guys want to hear a little bit about the Knights Templar? I found a very weird connection. They were accused of practicing these dark arts, this ancient Egyptian mysticism. What I thought was interesting was their symbol was a red cross, but it was 8-sided. Yeah. That cross, that 8-pointed cross, carried throughout really strange organizations. One being Freemasonry, and the story goes that hundreds of years before Columbus went to America, the Knights Templar were actually in America. And there's a conspiracy that they were finding ancient relics and bringing them to America to hide them. When the Knights Templar was dissolved, all of Europe was basically like, if you're a Knights Templar, you're in prison or you're dead. Yeah. The only country that did not do it was Portugal. And what's interesting is that Christopher Columbus, I believe, is from Portugal. Sails on Christopher Columbus's ship was the symbol of the Knights Templar. He used those sails going to America because he knew that the natives there would recognize that, and it wouldn't be as much as of a threat.
Historian Malcolm Barber said in his book, The New Kingdom, quote, "It was during the 1760s that German Masons introduced a specific Templar connection, claiming that the order, through its occupation of the Temple of Solomon, had been the repository of secret wisdom and magical powers, which Molay had handed down to his successor before his execution, and of which the 18th century Freemasons were the direct heirs." Sacred mysteries are religious beliefs, rituals, or practices which are kept secret from the general public. It refers to esoteric knowledge which usually requires a formal initiation and a gradient of higher levels of belief before the concealed knowledge is revealed. Although the term mystery is not often used in anthropology, access by initiation or rite of passage to otherwise secret beliefs is an extremely common feature of indigenous religions all over the world, and this is especially so for occult secret societies. In his book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall says, quote, "Every pagan nation had, and has, not only its state religion, but another into which the philosophic elect alone have gained entrance. Many of these ancient cults vanished from the earth without revealing their secrets, but a few have survived the test of ages, and their mysterious symbols are still preserved. Much of the ritualism of Freemasonry is based on the trials to which the candidates were subjected by the ancient hierophants before the keys of wisdom were entrusted to them."
A new military order is born, essentially a German incarnation of the heavily French Knights Templar. This order, the Brothers of the German House of St. Mary, is better known to the world as the Teutonic Knights.